Hello, everyone. My name is Bill Bansberg, and I'm with the MPEC Consortium, the Migrant Parent Empowerment Consortium. And this last session, we're just going to give folks a brief preview of what the future holds for each of the four consortiums. So somehow we got elected to be first, and so we'll go ahead and go first. And I'd like to introduce Jeff Ojeda, who is the lead state and the state director of Migrant Education for Utah, and he'd just like to say a couple of words to kick us off.
Yeah, hello everybody. It's nice to be with you all after these many sessions. It's nice that there are still some of you tagging along, so thanks for doing that. It's been a real great opportunity to be able to work in this consortium. We've seen it transform in many ways, and thankfully the most recent and updated version was working with parents and including parents to ensure that they are able to help and support their kids, not just in school, but academically as well. And giving them opportunities to be able to work with their kids academically, I think, is a key part of our consortium and what we're trying to do. So with that, let me turn the time over to Bill.
Thanks, Jeff. Just quickly, we only have 5 to 7 minutes each, so I'm just going to go through fairly quickly. The new consortium is called Impact Plus, and it contains 8 states: Hawaii, Nevada, New Mexico, North Dakota, South Dakota, Utah's the lead state, Virginia, and Washington. So we're kind of from one coast to the other. Our purpose, we have 2 purposes. One is to strengthen the involvement of migratory parents. And then the second part is to address the impact of COVID-19 on migratory students' reading and mathematics skills. This consortium in the past, has spent a lot of time developing resources to assist both teachers, students, and parents to improve their reading and mathematics skills. And so we bring all those resources to bear as part of this next 3 years. The key tasks for our next 3 years in this consortium: help parents increase their skills to support their own children's learning and education, provide ongoing high-quality staff training and technical assistance, develop systems and tools to build state and local services and support to migrant parents, expand and improve the resources that we have on the Migrant Literacy Net. This is the consortium that developed the Migrant Literacy Net. We need to continue to expand and support what we call our parent advocate teams, which are teams that work with families in states and in local programs, and then disseminate the training and products that we develop. So that's kind of what it is in a nutshell. If we were to talk about what's new and what's old, what we're going to maintain from the past is maintenance and improvement of the Migrant Literacy Net. We'll continue to improve the screeners and the tutorials and the lessons on the system. We will expand as needed. We find additional needs for additional tutorials in reading and math. We'll add those to the system. We already have on the system right now 413 online tutorials complete with audio and everything students need to teach almost every skill imaginable in reading and math, pre-K to grade 6. But we will continue to expand and improve those resources. We'll continue to provide training for staff, continue to use our parent advocates to support families, and develop additional parent-child activities, which we have on the Migrant Literacy Net, targeting reading and math. And we'll also add research links upon which all of the resources in the MLN are based. The new strategies: we want to provide regular online webinars for migrant parents to facilitate family literacy and technical proficiency. We want to assist states with planning and implementing their state PAC meetings. We want to put together a whole system of identifying family needs and the specific needs of migrant families, and put together ways that we can meet those needs. or that local programs can meet those needs. One of the big things we want to do is build an individual plan for each member state to focus on what it is they need in relation to parent engagement and addressing the critical gaps that were caused by COVID. Expand our migrant family literacy programs, and then also provide all our member states with data that we collect from the Migrant Literacy Net and other resources that they can use to help with their comprehensive needs assessment, their CSPR, and their program evaluation. That's quickly. I think my time's probably about up. The last thing I wanted to say is we would like to thank all of the MPIC states for their hard work and efforts over the past many years to create these resources. The 9 states that were a part of this consortium the last 3 years were wonderful and did great work, and we really truly appreciate everyone's effort. The last thing I put in here is a quote from Marzola that I've always liked, and that is, he said, "We were migrants, and all that we carried in our pockets were dreams." And the focus of this consortium, we hope and we intend, is to try and help families and students realize some of those dreams. So I thank you, and I'll turn I'll pass the baton to Tracy.
Hello, thank you so much. Let me just pull up my own screen. Okay. Welcome, and thanks everybody for staying with us this last session. We really appreciate that. And I wanted to introduce you all to the new ISOC. I believe we're ISOC 2, and it stands for Innovative Strategies for Out of School and Secondary Youth. So I just wanted to share some numbers from the incredible work that our 18 states did these past 3 years. So looking at the number of states using ISOC materials increased by 75%, from a little over 1,500 students to almost 2,700. So we're really excited about that. And we also saw a 121% increase into year 2, and we're waiting on year 3 data in terms of students earning their high school equivalency. As we know that 95% of staff receiving training reported they increased their knowledge. But what's most important is on this page. And I love sharing success stories. And if you go to osymigrant.org, you'll see video affidavits from students, and just in their own words telling you about the impact of the program and what it has done for their lives. And so I just wanted to share with you, we have the young woman from Kansas, who was the first to complete our OSHA course, and I'll talk about that in a moment. And she is now entered in community college, so we're really excited. Aldrin there from North Carolina really did an incredible time with the high school equivalency program at Wake Tech Community College, and we have her commencement address on the website. So I encourage you to check everybody out, including Andre from Vermont, who also completed our Fort Scott Community College OSHA course and had wonderful things to say about the process and what he learned through that. So just to highlight a couple of things that will be ongoing: the use of the student portal. We will expand our English lessons. We will continue with our certificated courses. And we'll also take a look and really dig into career awareness, looking at pathways to high school equivalency and credentialing. So you may ask, what's the goal of ISOC 2? Well, obviously it's to improve the delivery of MEP instructional services, but we also have an increased emphasis on student engagement and summer instruction. But the real important part is that second part of the sentence, which says to increase the educational attainment of out of school and secondary youth at risk of dropping out. So I want to thank our returning states for the incredible work they've done, and welcome our 2 new states. And just really thank everyone for the important work we've done and that we're going to continue to do and continue to learn with and from each other. So obviously the importance of the project, I mean, you could read this slide in front of you, but note right now in our ISOC states, we have over 9,000 students, secondary migratory students, that are at risk of dropping out. And what can we do about that? Because we really want to focus on engagement and re-engagement with school and to help prevent students from dropping out in the first place. But also, we know there's a vast need for this project because of the high mobility and the barriers that are oftentimes the roadblocks that prevent students from engaging, re-engaging, and sometimes disengaging with our schools. So what we're going to be focusing on are on the following slides, and I'm going to rush through these because I know I have a time limit, but we're really looking at how do we learn from one another? How do we provide innovative summer services? What can we do in terms of providing a variety of options, and how can states learn from one another to really focus on academic skill building, but also addressing the ever important social and emotional learning of students? We're also going to really build up our student portal. We are going to include English lessons on there. We're going to look at preparation for high school equivalency tests, health lessons, so really keen focus on life skills. We also know the incredible need of our students who want to learn English, and they will have access to self-paced lessons, but also live online classes from master instructors. And that will be both, as I said, synchronous and asynchronous. We will also offer a variety of pathways for our member states. For certification, micro-credentials, we have supported an OSHA certification process. We're looking at expanding this to include office software training, et cetera. So as I mentioned earlier, I encourage you to go look at those success stories and share your own. The last piece, of course, is the activities that revolve around how we can provide support to our service providers, our states. And so we're going to be doing that through professional learning circles, national collaborations, and engagement at each level, whether that's state, regional, and local, and ultimately at the student level as well. So I can be reached at teresakalick@gmail.com if you have questions. Thank you for your time.
Thanks, Tracy. I'm coming up here, so hang on a second while I get everything in order. Okay, and I am going to turn my video off because I've been having some issues in the last little bit with it. So let me just do that. So my name is Michelle Cheney, and I'm the current Impact Family Engagement Consortium Coordinator, and we'll be working forward with our new version of Impact, which is Family Engagement for Student Success. I want to thank the 8 states that were with Impact, and 7 of those 8 are moving forward, and we have a new one who's joined. So in our new iteration of Impact, we've got Arizona, Arkansas, Colorado, Georgia, Kentucky, Iowa, Montana, Pennsylvania, who will serve as our lead state. So thank you for that again, all of our states, and to Pennsylvania for being the lead state once again. We are continuing our family engagement work on the foundations and the core principles and that theory of action that the original Impact iteration began. The work that we've been doing these past 3 years will continue forward for the next 3 years. And in a nutshell, that's really looking at the needs of the whole child, right? We know that we want to support academic and instructional success, school success, and ultimately high school graduation. But that's not done in isolation, and that's not done without addressing the health and well-being of the child. They're all connected. And those things cannot be accomplished by the migrant education program alone. So our framework, our approach includes working with the parents, caregivers, extended family, friends network. That's the home piece. Working with and in schools, and that includes other educators and educational programs like the Migrant Education Program, and then encompassing those community organizations and services so that, again, the needs of the whole child are being addressed. And these are the underlying principles of the work that we'll be doing. This gets down to the nitty-gritty or the specifics of our impact work over the next 3 years. There are 3 core areas that we're going to be focusing on. One is professional development, 2, family engagement frameworks, and 3, the direct family activities. In terms of professional development for our member states, in year one, we'll be looking at evidence-based practices that center around language and literacy development. In year two, we're going to focus on evidence-based practices around numeracy and math development. And then in year three, that all-important college and career readiness aspect. In terms of family engagement frameworks, we're going to explore, select, plan for, and then fully implement over the 3 years a family engagement framework in those member states in the local project area. So if you think about the professional development in those areas that we're looking at there, that's the content. Those are the evidence-based practices and the information, skills, resources we're going to share directly with families. An out of school time family engagement framework is the how, sort of the methodology of how we're going to go out and work with the families, get into the homes. So a framework for doing that. So we've got our content, we've got our what, we've got our how. And then of course, the work with the families is to be able to ultimately implement or use those evidence-based practices. I keep talking about evidence-based practices. It was something that when the Office of Migrant Ed released those consortium incentive grant proposals, and we were writing for that language that they included and that we must include or had to include in our proposals that they had in the applications. And it's really important for a number of different reasons. So we partnered with Pennsylvania's Evidence-Based Resource Center, and they'll be a continual partner to help us identify high impact or evidence-based practices in those different content areas. So the reason for this, of course, is we want to be able to use practices and strategies that we know will work. There's a limited amount of time that the migrant education program has with its students and families. There's a limited amount of time that parents and caregivers have with their children. So we want to know that we're really focusing on those practices, on those strategies that should yield high impact results, positive results. So thinking about folks who are both member states and non-member states, because once we create something, all of that information and those materials are available to everyone. These are the types of things that you will be looking for from our consortium over the next few years. So that MEP staff professional development, we'll be putting together trainings and resources that anyone can use around those evidence-based practices so that the staff is more knowledgeable and they know what the high yield practices are. We'll also be putting together materials and resources for the families to use, right? So once we identify these evidence-based practices and select the ones that we want the families to use, we've got to gather some learning kits, some materials, and show them how to do these things and provide them with the resources to be able to do those. And that's the kind of information and resources that will be available to the broader migrant community that you will be looking for on our website or in other areas through trainings and other things that we provide. This is just a snap from our current website. If you're not familiar with the current consortium or haven't visited it lately, please take a look. I can direct you to the Educator and Advocates tab and instructional resources and materials. You might also want to check out the Parents and Caregivers tab. Those are things that parents and caregivers can use directly, but often need the help of a support person like an advocate or a tutor to be able to fully understand and implement. But some current resources. We're going to do a revamp of the website moving forward, but all of the materials that we've gathered and created over the last few years will be available on our new website, so be on the lookout for that. And then if you find something on there that you want more information on, if your state would like some training on something that we've already created or moving forward, something that the new Impact Consortium creates, there's my contact information. You can just reach out and we'll make arrangements to help you out.
Thank you,
Thank you very
Michelle.
much.
Okay, so I will switch. Here we go. Make sure you can see my slides. So we want to thank you all for sticking with us for this whole time. Let me just share what's next for IDRC. So we have gone from 26 states to 33 states. So we're excited to still be able to work with many of the same states that we had last go round. We really beg to not change our name. Please, after everyone finally knows us as IDRC, we didn't want to have to change it. So we are calling ourselves IDRC 2 until October 1, and then we'll be back to regular, just so we can distinguish between our old projects and new projects. But we will be known as IDRC, so it will still be the same name. And these are our states. We want to thank all the states that have worked. I think the real beauty of the consortiums, as we all agree, is the knowledge that we can gain together and what we've been able to learn from each other, and then really be able to actually disseminate it and share it. It just really makes us better for everybody. So we're going to be doing a lot of the same things that we've done in the past, but we do have some brand new projects. So the things that you're familiar with, like our monthly, webinars and our newsletters, all of those will still continue, but we have some new focus on really looking at all of the professional development that we already have and making sure that it's easily accessible and really mapped to the appropriate audience and sequence. And so our work groups will be really, what that looks like in the end will be based on how they really would like that to, they would like that to look like. We have professional learning groups. Sometimes we've had states say, well, we want to send new members to the TST so they can learn and be trained. We want our TST is our technical support team. It's the group that does a lot of gives us the direction, does a lot of the work on the projects. And we've really asked for people that are very seasoned, that know a lot about IDNR. And then we have this opportunity for these professional learning groups that it can be anyone from the member states that they want to send. It'll be focused on specific topics, and it'll go for a duration that the group decides. And we'll be able to do those throughout the year. We're also looking at when IDRC was first IRRC, one of the things that states really wanted was this exchange of recruiters at different times to really do IDNR events when things were slow for one state and they could really help each other out. We moved to do a lot of those through IDRC, kind of supporting a lot of those efforts over the years. And now we've going to kind of look at a different model due to just really wanting to make sure that we're always building capacity, but then we're also allowing states to be able to work together. And so we'll be helping kind of coordinate a recruiter exchange. We're going to focus on creating profiles of the farm worker population for member states. So really, so they can understand how the population has changed, maybe look at not just migrant ed data, but data in whole about new populations to the state. And so that will really depend on how we want to, how the work groups want that to be focused on. We also are really looking at trying to develop national and state key partnerships. So that'll be in the areas of agribusiness and the areas that'll hopefully, if we can make those partners, like, the one I would love to have is like Farm Bureau, for example, that we can make it on the national level. That would be so much easier for states to be able to find their contact and have the national ones already on board. And I'm not sure who all we'll be able to get, but we're going to try to develop some of those. Continued projects that people know about already. We help our member states. We do direct assistance to them based on the projects that they asked. We're hoping to do the Summer Recruitment Institute. We'll for sure do that again. We're up in the air about the Recruiter Invitational. We'll see next week. We're going to discuss that in a leadership team meeting that we have. We'll continue to work with our steering and technical support team. We'll continue to do the assessments. Continue to do module and resource development, technical support, and then we have new director mentoring that we offer our states. So I feel like all of us at the consortiums, we all have plenty of work. And so we really appreciate you guys attending. We appreciate your time. We know that everyone is busy. And what I want to do is share my screen so that you have the evaluation. And then also I want to just drop this into the chat box. We will Melissa, can you go ahead and drop in the chat box where all the videos are? We've been trying to keep those up to date, where all the presentations are. We really welcome your feedback. I can say on my personal experience working with the other CIG directors, it's been an absolute pleasure. They're all really good to work with. And I feel like that there truly is a lot of collaboration back and forth. If you're not a member of a consortium state, or you're not sure if you are, please reach out to your state director. There's a question, is there any place where the MEP programs can find the different qualifying activities that are being done by the states? So, Josefina, great question. I would put that back to you guys. We're willing to gather that, but we do not have time to be hunting that information from everybody. So you want to give that to us, we'll gladly incorporate that in and share. But with all the other things that we have going on, if the work group decides that's something they want to do, then we'll definitely do that. But that's not exactly one of our directives right now. So I will stop recording.